mics? Okay, good. Hello. I'm not going to focus on my face today because I'm old and ugly. Also, there's a lot of, this is what everyone does, you know? I mean, there's some people doing other stuff, but there's a lot of people talking at the camera because everybody wants to be famous. My kinsman, Andy Warhol, loosely speaking, my co-ethnicist, for me 1/4, Andy Warhol said, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. And, you know, consider, if you will, Ibiza final boss, right? So, Andy Warhol, well done, my friend. So here's what we got. I think I'm going to speed this up for comedic reasons, but can you see this thing? I didn't check the framing, if this paper is showing how far it is in the distance. Let me just get up again here. Let's see. Well, yeah, it's pretty hard to see, but it's there. All right, well, you know what? I can show it later or put a link or something. So here's what it is. I was thinking, you know what, instead of just doing this like as if a general audience might be interested, which is pretty far-fetched, I sort of have a certain person in mind who's been encouraging to me on this card design project. Now, I don't have a lot of the cards here. I could go get some. What happened to my main bag with those? Yeah, I feel like I should get that. But that's all right. I'm hesitant to open these. These are my last sample of the little size version, and they're not great because the printing is cut off because the image needs to be shrunken with more margin so that it doesn't cut the writing off. But well, you know what? Just give me a second. This is it. This is my documentary. So this is a typical evening for me at this point in my life. I work now. First time in years I've had a office job. Where the hell is my other thing? Alright, let's grab some names. I got a mishmash of little prints that in the process. Two areas in the house now. So my goal is to clean up the house. So I have this big magical mess here, and I need to clean it out because my roommate's lady, next week, this table that you're looking at is an antique table, and I've got all this crap on it, and she was back, she didn't say it like that, but, I can tell. Now, the truth is, everything on this table is not touching the table, it's touching paper. None of it's heavy, none of it's scratchy, there's a paper buffer. So it's really no risk to the table, but there's this other, she's like, well, if the table's gonna be heavily used, I'd really like to get this thing, which is like one of these fancy, it's a round thing that folds. It's sort of a maroon, it's been a big theme for me lately, maroon or burgundy, okay? It's this big thing that's a soft thing and it unfolds, and it will sit probably fuzzy side down, I'm guessing, yeah. It'll sit fuzzy side down on this table to protect it from all this stuff. So what I had this stuff out like this, but I had this sheet because she's not here that much. So, the day that I happened to do this was the day that she comes back. But I thought, well, maybe she'll come back. So this is a little embarrassing, right? So I took this sheet. I don't know if you can see this, but I have this big bed sheet. It's kind of gray, silverish. It's gray. It's slightly sheen to it, but basically gray. And I had it over the whole thing, like they have in haunted houses. You know how that is. So, oh my goodness. So here we are. You can't see the full extent of the table, unfortunately. Maybe I should get up and see if it's still running. I know I'm jostling the camera. It's bad. Okay, let's see. Just jostle it back the other. I can't do that because the chair is now blocking it. It was slightly more like that. No, we want it like this. That's pretty good. Okay, we'll do it like that. All right, so production values, zilch. Not much of it going on right now, other than these decent microphones. and the fact that I turned the light on. I could turn on the kitchen light, but it's a harsh, it's not fluorescent, but it's that kind of too much a white blue glare. It's not a warm lighting. Alrighty, so here we are, and I'm just gonna be here doing my stuff, slightly self-conscious because I'm on camera, but I'm gonna try to, it'll get more casual as I go because I get into what I'm doing, what I'm talking about, and less self-conscious, so that's all to the good. So, what have we got here? Well, I've been designing cards for 2-3 years now, and it's quite spontaneous. It feels like channeling. Can't prove that it's channeling, but it feels like channeling. Not pure channeling, because I don't take orders. I don't give orders, but I don't take orders. But if suggestions come from the nether regions of my neurology, or maybe I should have chosen the words differently, but the medusa oblongata, corpus callosum, the much vaunted pineal gland, who knows, if they chime in every now and then, who knows. But so my neurology is rather active, as is yours. I just pay attention to mine in a different way. And frankly, I mythologize a little bit because, well, basically, I'm a weird kid. I did a lot of acid back in the day. I don't do that anymore. I've had other sacred medicines, and I have studied a lot of Tolkien level obsessive sort of mythos building, but I don't care for Tolkien's hierarchical obsessions, which are quite typical of course, Middle Ages, but even to this day, all the Disney stories that I love and I showed my children, there are a lot of the myth of the good queen, the good king. Usually it's king, sometimes it's queen. And it's all about the natural order of things, whereby there's basically royalty, aristocracy, maybe a little bit of the priesthoods, the magicians, the craftspeople, and then it's the regular people, right? And that's quote unquote the natural order of things that we lionize in our mythologies, even to this day. So one of my projects that is an ongoing, many years long thing, is I decided to try to write a mythology that felt like a fairy tale, but that had democratic principles thoroughly in the DNA of it. And I have some stuff that's okay. It's hard. It's a hard problem, and I hope somebody hears this or reads my stuff someday and does a better job of it than I did. But the idea is, can it feel like a fairy tale without implying or falling back on this, we're going to be saved by the good monarch, whether male or female or otherwise. It's not, to me, it's not the hallmark of a mature culture, and it's not something that I think is great. So that's one set of stories. That's the Novo Myth series. If you want to go buy my book for $10 or $12, it's at Novomyth, NOVOMYTH.com, which goes to a WordPress page, which has links to the Amazon place and the original printing house where you can buy that. It doesn't matter. You can find it there. I haven't worked on that in years, but I have plans. I have outlines. I have a bunch of drafts, but these cards are not that. But these cards all started with, I wanted to make cards without royalty because I don't like royalty. And what I ended up doing is coming up with a plan for 8 decks originally, all of which would have 5 suits, and I had these various design principles that were meant to be familiar, general purpose playing cards, like this kind of stuff. This one's maybe more familiar. This one's got it's like clubs, but it looks like trees, and that happens to be the 9 of wands or forests. But you could play poker with that, right? It's not hard. It's not hard to say, oh, it's the 9 of clubs, okay? You can play poker with it. Although the printing isn't flawless, and so serious poker players would never play with it because there's variation. Like the edging is different. It's because the printing is reasonably affordable. It's print on demand, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a damn about the, precision for the poker players, but
And there's no layer in the middle, but I put this up against with lights and behind. I cannot see through it, and I don't think it's a relevant factor really, so I think you can play any regular game with this. But there's 5 suits, so you're gonna have to either adapt your game or take out a suit. No big deal. But I'm realizing more and more that nobody's clamoring for redesign of playing cards. Like they like different art on the back maybe, but basically they want the black and red, the usual stuff. But whatever, I'm still determined to make a dent. But anyways, I ended up doing a Tarot-inspired deck number 9, in which all the face cards are the major arcana. So the major arcana are jammed into the suits, because really, does anyone care that much about the Queen of Wands, right? Come on. And I have a page rank, which is 10.5, because American audience. I got rid of Jack, Queen, King, Ace, because I don't like hierarchy or royalty. I just did numbering. It goes 10, 11, 12, 13, but I had to have the page level because of the Tarot backward compatibility, so that's the 10.5. And it works, that tracks. And by the way, the ace is out, it's jokers instead of aces. But I realized I gotta modify the joker. That's kind of what I'm hung up on now, is I can't print these things because when someone sees this J, they're gonna think it's a jack. And I could play the trickster and say, well, ha ha ha, it's actually the ace. They're gonna think it's the jack, and that'll be confusing. How fun is that? Well, it's fun for my imagination, but it's not a practical product design. So I have a modification of this. It's going to say actually Joker. It's going to have J, an O above a K, and then an R. And then I'm going to do lines across it, kind of like a Roman numeral has top and bottom lines, but I'm going to touch one and not the other one, such that it kind of looks like a 14, which is basically the value of an ace. No game counts ace as 14, but king would be 13, ace would be 14, or 1. In this case, it would be... It's some way it's putting it as a literal 14, even though most people won't catch it, but it'll make it not a jack, and it'll make it clearly a joker, and there won't be an ace, and I hope people will figure that out, and I'll have these little instructions. But my friend who's been encouraging to me thinks I need a booklet, thinks I need to explain what are my tweaks to the Tarot Major Arcana mean to me, and put it in a booklet. And I'm like, booklet's a lot of work, it's gonna add all this complexity to the product, not the design isn't so hard, but the production chain from print on demand, I didn't want to tackle. I just wanted to do the cards and just have whatever explanations on these, which I can do, or I can just put them online with a QR code or something. But we'll see. I have a hang up about it. I've self-published some actual books with ISBN numbers and stuff, but I just don't want to bother with a booklet. But I realize now I have to write some, I hate the word copy for prose. It's like, well, because copy is the plebeian of prose. Let's be honest about it, right? But there's the hierarchy. So I'm like, fuck that. Let's just have it be prose. Text, whatever. So this is deck 7. These are old ones. I can show more of that, but I don't want to do that right now. So what am I doing with these cards? I don't know. I'm showing some examples. Some of these I end up marking them up because I get in these moods, there's stories about that, but let's not go there right now. Okay, here's all this stuff. So here's the cards. They look like parchment. They're actually drawn on 3x5 regular originals, and let's put this one back with its peers. This one's got some graffiti on it. This one's the desert, which is also the cave that replaces the death card, and it says the Desereth, kind of like a Mormon newspaper. This one's got some bunch of extra diamonds on it, just because I felt like scrawling on it one day. Well, here's some righteous ends, okay? I don't use that word righteous too much, but vibrant life, dynamic individuality, okay? Intevolution, it's a merge of intention and evolution. Demeritocracy is a merger of democracy, meritocracy, and of course Merry, as in Merry Christmas, inter alia. Fine. So that's that. That's from deck 7. This is deck 7. It's now as parchment as well, but this original test print didn't have the parchment treatment in the background. Here's the Justice, the ace of more or less of diamonds. It's got some gestures. This one got water damaged. It's actually, this is one of the few that I fixed digitally because the original got water damaged. One of these got fuzzed out and I had to fix it in the computer. But mostly I just scan, do very little bit of very, very minor moving a little bit stuff around for spacing reasons and stuff. But I want it to be organic. I want it to be hand-drawn. I want it to feel hand-drawn. and I don't want it to look slick and professional like everything else on Kickstarter, which, by the way, mine barely passed, but the stories, let's just leave it at that. So here's some Galaxy, the sky, the galaxy. This is my interpretation of the Wheel of Fortune. Here's the Secret Finder. I have 3 new major arcanas because I have 5 suits and 5 face cards per suit, including the page level, and so that adds to 25, and they traditionally have only 21, so there's 3 extras. And plus I have a lot of extra jokers, so that's kind of the Fool, which is a 0 instead of a 1, but whatever. So here's my version of the Devil. It's instead the ocean. Of course, it looks like a sea, it's Neptune or something with his fishy tail. And he's got the trident just like a devil, but it's a little more approachable than your fire and brimstone devil, I would say. So maybe I'll burn for trying to whitewash it or teal wash it, as the case may be. Here's some more graffiti. Sometimes I use these as business cards. I'll do this crazy writing and I'll write like my contact information on it and hand it out at disco hippie events. I love disco hippies, by the way. It's my new friend group. So here's Uncle Iroh, the grandfather in place of Emperor, although for the Truro purists it tells you, hey, this goes to the Emperor, but I'm trying to make it more campfire. So the tower is gone, it's a mountain. The river is now replacing Temperance. Medicine man, medicine woman replaces Hierophant and High Priestess, grandfather, grandmother. I have the Thunder Raven instead of the Chariot. That's one, people like that one. It's just a straight-on view of this cartoon raven, basically, with some sort of blue detailing on it. These got Bible verses now, because whatever, broad audience, right? So this is here, handwritten on the edges. 1 Corinthians, epistle something of 13:13. Oh, love is greater than faith. It's this longer quote, but basically, it's one of these few inklings of sanity in the Bible that the Apostle Paul, who was a real historical person, he probably wrote most of the letters, maybe not all of them, but anyways, they're all written in his sort of breath line or his tradition and whatever. But faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. So all that stuff they taught me in youth group and Sunday school about you got to believe the very special story in a very certain way or you're burning forever, that verse says otherwise. So Sunday school, I have a message for you, but I'm going to keep it to myself for now because reasons. Okay, here's another one. Luke 17:21. The realm, because kings suck, the realm of heaven is within you. Or withung, because some people say it's with among, so I combine within and among, and it becomes withung. Luke 6:27, forgive and you will be forgiven. It's a loophole. Here's Psalm, I don't dig into the Old Testament that much, but Psalm 8:5, Elohim in Kedoshim, blah, 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 blah. I forget what that one says. It's blah, blah. I like the word Elohim because it's plural. Here's something, I can't even read this one. Oh, Jude. The only reason I had this is because it's a reference to the book of Enoch in the book of Jude, and Enoch didn't make it into the canon, but it's quoted in Jude as the way they quote Isaiah, Jeremiah, whoever else in the New Testament. That sort of is supposed to vouch for the overall cohesion of this anthology that they call a single book. And that's kind of pointing out the hypocrisy that, hey, Jude quotes Enoch just the way someone else quotes Isaiah or quotes Elijah or somebody. And that's not a book, but he's a big deal, and he's an asshole, by the way. Sorry, Elijah's an asshole. He murders a lot of people. What's this? Genesis 1:29, personal favorite here. Eat every herb, it's a commandment. In the Bible, eat every herb. Genesis 1:29. Okay. All right. Oh, that's a lot to read. I don't have the energy for this right now. It's a little bit much. Here's a nice pip card. That's what they're called. Proverbs 3:18. She is a tree, Sophia, the wise, because Sophie means wisdom, is a tree of life. There's another loophole for you. Here's the 7 of cups of milk, the 10 of cups of milk, the 12 of diamonds is the hero, the fool, the child, the quinder, the quander, blah, blah, blah. Here's the grandmother that's not the empress, but the grandmother is better than that because cookies and also taffy and fancy dinners. Cloves and the ham. Okay, here's that Joker again. We've seen this guy before. Oh, I kind of like that art. We haven't shown that yet. This is the original from Deck 7, way back in the day. Designed for the card back art is what I call it. And I'm fond of it. I haven't been able to pull the trigger and commit to it because I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll get back to it. I haven't really sure. But I should do some market research. Put that here. Here's the star from Tarot. I don't have the Roman numeral. I should probably add those. But that would be the star card. It's also the 13, or the more or less the king or the queen, or well, not the queen, but it's the 13, the monarch of swords. But I have it as 5 words because I'm not that fond of stabbing and slashing. And here's the page of swords, or of breath, or of spades, which is that thing here. It's the mountain. It replaces the tower, so it's not a disaster scene. It's just a mountain. That was a little awkward. It kind of floats there without any context. Here's the medicine man based on Radagast from the Tolkien movies, but because he's got the holly, he's got the Tom Bombadil style hat, and other reasons, it's a parody, therefore it's not an infringement of the Tolkien estate. Impulsions, become yourselves. This is the lovers, the animixes. Some people will notice the symbol has a modern meaning, which many people won't catch. Here's the chariot, the thunder raven, and I said in my other advertisement, like in Tolkien, the birds can carry you around, and then I put a little caveat subtitle. The thunder raven is unlikely to carry you around through the sky. I'm just saying it's unlikely. If you're banking on that, don't call it fraud because you just heard the caveat. The strength card, that's the sacrament of Arad, the biblical herb Kane Balsam. That's right. I do not partake at this point in my life, but it's a sacred medicine. Okay, here's the world, humanity. It's the bliss symbol. It's like the yin yang, but triple, and it's got an evil grin because humanity is my world when I'm a child. That's humanity. That's the world. That's the bliss. That's the mischief. Okay. Toporina Pimuki Chomba. I don't have time to explain that, but it's very important to me and very precious. 8 cups of milk. Okay, there's that one. I haven't had cups of broth. There's the king of broth. Okay, that's cups of potion or broth. It's a purple inside the cup instead of the white milk in the other one. I think this was a poor design choice, by the way. I don't like these cups. I just have decided they replace hearts, and I don't like how they are. That one's better than most, but most of them, they're too small and spread out, and it's like you don't even know what you're looking at. It's like I've never seen a cup like that. Here's the moon with its cheesy little scars on it. But it's also Yah, the moon god is a male moon god, Yah, who's a Semitic god of the moon, who shows up in Egypt when the Hyksos are running the Nile Delta. And the indigenous pharaoh Amos of Yah, or Moses of Yah, literally is the pharaoh that expelled forcibly the Hebrew or Proto-Hebrew speaking rulers of the Nile Delta. They inverted the tale during the Babylonian captivity because of the trauma of that. They were tired of getting kicked around, so they invented a vicious propaganda about the merciless conquest of Canaan. And the good news is that never happened. The bad news is the Jews are still paying for that dumb mistake in a propaganda choice X thousands of years ago. Here's another new major arcana, the artist/musician. See, the bird is singing, and also the poop is the art. You can see it's a multicolored poop, as bird poop sometimes is, and that's kind of a funny inside joke, I suppose. Anyway, there's that one. So that's a little review of some of the cards. This little version is only 36 cards, so it's got the major arcana and some of the higher, like the 9s and 10s of the pip, the counter cards. The pips, the dot on a die is a pip. I don't have a regular die here, but and also when you get those regular cards, like regular poker or playing cards, all the little symbols that they put the same number as it is the symbol, like here the 7. Those little repetitions of the suit symbol, that's called a pip. I only learned this in the last year or two. Anyways, so what's any of this got to do with any of this? Well, so I've been collecting things that feel magical to me, like these God boxes. It's a little treasure chest like you would get at Pirates of the Caribbean, but it was from one of those crystal stores, and all of them have debossed in the top God box. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of God boxes. Okay. And I'm not that fond of the word God, frankly. Sorry to tell you. But these are neat little boxes, and I think it's funny that they're called God boxes. But so what I'm now doing for marketing is, okay, I think what I'm gonna do, I think I'm starting to get a better idea of what are these sets. So a lot of my product design and sort of marketing, sometimes, see, first of all, I'm not working from what the market's asking for, because I have no idea, right? I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna do something that no one else is doing. And if it falls flat, as it has a couple times on Kickstarter, so be it. But I'm just gonna keep doing it and trying to improve it, trying to make it more approachable, more fun, whatever. I have to think a little bit about the, product cost, right? If I do some kit of things that cost me $150 in materials and a bunch of labor on top of it, no one's going to pay $300 for some dumb little box of junk like this. Sorry to tell you, but I can fit one of these mini decks in here. So that's what I think I'm going to do. And they're also sort of, and because I was raised a fundamentalist Protestant, I think it's wise, even though I have some Thoreau references and all that, to fall back on the biblical concept of casting lots. Okay, so casting lots is Bible approved. There are several instances of it. It is a legitimate procedure. And of course, the main caveat would be, I suppose, that you're seeking guidance from, I'm going to put it as Elohim, which is a plural word for God, which I avoid elaborating as much as I can, but it's logically parallel to the Hindu idea of Brahman, right? So Brahman is the everything, right? God is everything, everything is God. It's a technical form of pantheism, although at the folk level, Hinduism doesn't really operate on such a philosophical abstraction. It's there in the scholarship, but on the folk level, it acts a lot more polytheistic, although some sects are more focused on Shiva or focused on Ganesha or focused on, Krishna, right? I met some Hare Krishnas for the first time a few months, 2-3 months ago in Venice, California. And afterwards I asked the guy, so you guys are very into, Krishna, which is, I believe, they think is their favorite name for, I believe it's Shiva. I might be getting that wrong, but when I was in college, they taught us that Brahman is kind of the main one that subsumes all the others, but for the Hare Krishnas, evidently it's Shiva, not Brahman. They didn't really want to talk about that. But I said, well, what about Ganesha? They said, well, he worships Krishna as well, of course. I was like, got it, okay. So, but whatever, it's an interesting idea of many in one. Okay, so the Trinity is kind of like a, dollar store version of Brahmanism, where Brahmanism, it's like infinity entities as part of God, but there is a hierarchy. So like the big gods per se are in this kind of pantheon. They're differentiated, but they're also part of the same central idea. That is, like I said, it's structurally, logically very, very parallel to the Trinity doctrine, but it makes no sense. Like you try to tell someone, at least you tell an adolescent, well, what's the Trinity doctrine? Well, God is one, also three. It doesn't contradict because you're not allowed to say the Bible contradicts itself. And so it's one and also three. Yes. Is it two? No, only one and three. But wait, what? They're like, that's it. Don't talk about it. Don't ask about it. Just go along. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. But years and years later, I had a plural consciousness experience accidentally, and I was like, okay, I get it. I basically got it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Well, I can't help it. I let my mouth go wherever it wants to go, essentially, and I keep on blathering. So I'm excited because, well, I don't really want to take this down because I feel like I'm not done. Like the work of this setup has not been completed. And my recent history of life is an endless series of getting these bouts of inspiration and getting these things kind of to some level of organization and sort of some sort of a starting to crystallize towards a product concept. And then I get interrupted and I can't stay where I'm at. I got to go somewhere else. I got to take everything down. And what happens is I end up with bags and bags and boxes full of stuff and I forget where I was at. I never find the thread again for years and years. So it's very expensive for me to not complete a cycle, this is like a cycle of creation, I guess, or it's a cycle of channeling, it's a cycle of, I don't know what, but it's not done yet. But my landlady's coming home soon, not tonight I don't think, but I gotta have this stuff off the table. I gotta have that special cover on here, make it look nice and tidy before I go to my cabin tomorrow. So you're here with me, as it were, in spirit. No one's probably on the Twitch. I can't see the screen, by the way, so if you're typing stuff, thank you, but I can't see it. So I made this sheet, but I want to talk first about what's in these boxes. So they're not totally the same. So how many of them are the same? They're not exactly the same, but all of these boxes, there's 9 of them, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, which I single digit homebrew numerology is one of my enduring obsessions. Partly it's Pythagoras' fault, and also Zalmoxis of Orpheus gets involved. It has to do with the island of, not Croton, but where Pythagoras was originally from. Is it Samos? It might be Samos. It's the place where there was a poet that was the first literary reference to a possibly historical Orpheus, right, of the myth. Also, Zalmoxis, the Thracian or Dacian, was a slave of Pythagoras, but evidently became a part of his entourage, became some sort of a healer, philosopher in his own right, according to Plato and various other sources. And the Dacians, the range of those people, they were sort of, according to the Romans, they were kind of like semi-barbarians, like in their depictions. So a barbarian, the word barb is to do with beards. And so the unshaven, crazy Germans and Celts out from the woods, those were the barbarians. And they would depict the Dacians, they had beards, but they were like trimmed beards. And the Dacians had fancy jewelry, but they just didn't really care for the whole highly structured civilization thing. They were kind of more on the Thrace, Dacia. So Dacia more or less corresponds to modern Romania territorially, but their range historically went all the way almost to the Baltic Sea, I think. But it certainly included the Carpathian Mountain Basin, the Transylvanian Plateau, and arguably all of the Carpathian Mountains, and like I said, well beyond. There's at least 1 or 2 references in very ancient writings of Dacian presence far beyond the Carpathian Mountains further north. So, my grandfather, the Andy Warhol, not relative, but of that ethnicity, was from a Carpathian Mountain, sort of proto-Slavic Ruthenians, they call them, or Carpatho-Rusins. Now, those are Slavic people, they are not Dacians per se, but everyone's been mixed since always, and there's like a spirit of the place, and there's been waves of migration coming through that region, like the Huns came through there, all those Turkic peoples migrating out of the steppes, sweeping in, waves after waves after waves. So it's a mixed place, but I've decided that the Dacian culture is an important part of my personal heritage. I cannot prove that I have quote-unquote a drop of Dacian blood, but the regional, it's good enough for me. They were, I think, yes, I believe they were Indo-Europe. Their language was an Indo-European language. They don't know much about it, but I'm pretty sure that it was an Indo-European language. Albanian probably is the closest living relative language of the Dacian language. So I have become interested in learning Albanian, but I haven't really done any work on that, other than a little bit. I know a little bit about some of the way they spell and pronounce things, but not much. I also know that they don't have a lot of synonyms, that they have some other system of incorporating nuance into their language that is other than the use of explicitly denotative synonyms, which I find fascinating and want to understand better. But I've watched some videos of American expats who've lived in Albania talking with great enthusiasm about how fun the Albanian language is once you get it. And I'm like, there's something to that. I want to get it. And someday maybe I'll get there. So, in these boxes, there are each of these boxes, and this box, which is a different box, it's a olive wood thing with a magnetic based sort of latch. Not really a latch, but it holds it in place and it swings like this. These are heavier metal dice, but it's got basically the same content range as these other ones. Also, I got this sort of pretty little synthetic mesh bag, which is a similar set of stuff. It also has 5 game dice in there, D&D style game dice, and some other things I'll talk about in a second. This one also has metal, so this, and this has metal in it, metal dice, but it's the same range and style of dice as all these other boxes. This box is a little different because I ran out of dice, basically, so it's a different mix of dice. But all of these other ones have the same set of dice, which is, I don't have the boxes right here, but I took out the ones that are terrible or common. So your regular 6-sided cubical dice, everyone's got those. I'm like, that's not part of my magical bag, okay, my magical set. Okay, so what I've got in each of these, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 treasure chests, god boxes, this olive thing, this bag, and this bag, which have metal versions, not this one, has metal versions. These all are plastic, but they're nice colors. There's nothing eco about it, but they're neat. So what you get is, in a standard set, you're going to have one 20-sided die, which is the most spherical-like. Okay? You have one dodecahedron, a 12-sided die, personal favorite because it's got pentagonal faces or facets. I'm all about 5s, so you got one. I'll go to these ones. There's 2 of them that have 10 sides, and back in the day, in the early days of D&D, they didn't used to print them like the multiplied by 10. You would just have 2 of these in your set, and they would be different colors, and you would say which color is the 10's place and which is the 1's. You roll them both together, and basically it goes to 100. Or you could interpret it as 0 to 99, but normally they do 1 to 100. So if you got a 0 and a 0, that would be 100. So in this case, it would be a double 0 and a 0, and that means 100. Not 1,000. In the typical usage, it means 100. So you got 2 of these babies for your percentage kind of stuff. And you got one, which is like a regular Giza type of pyramid, a 4-sided pyramid, but it's mirrored under the ground, so to say. So that's an 8-sided die. It's a decent roller. It's a worthy character. And what else have you got? So I had this little side project. We had these clays. You get these synthetic polymer clays that you can mold. You can make little characters or whatever you want to make with it, and you bake them in the oven. And it stinks, but they cure. You don't need a kiln, so they're not as hard as a ceramic, but they get pretty rigid when you bake them, and they're very easy to burn, by the way, at least at this size they are. So, but I had this production run of making all of these, I call them trolumpans. Well, because it's from a lump of clay, and it's a fun word. And so what I did with these things is I had this mold, one of these little fidget things, like where you pop, it's like a rubber thing that's a circle, and you just pop all the little divots back and forth, and it kind of makes a slight popping noise, and it's just sort of a sensory thing to sort of calm down the stimmers or what have you. Anyways, I used that for the mold for these polymer clay and stuck it in these little holes, and they happened to have 20, I believe it was 23 or 24 divots in this thing. And I decided, because I like to go beyond what's been done before, and I sketched Roman numerals into these. So that's a 20-something, 23, XX, and then 3 hash marks. And these were intended to be in the, earlier I talked about lot casting. So these are lots. So what's a lot? The Bible doesn't tell you exactly what this was. Was it special stones with markings? Was it sticks? Was it like drawing straws? It didn't really tell you. It doesn't really matter. The point is that it's some sort of a randomized physical object that you throw around that scholars would call divination. The Bible does not like the word divination, but the Bible does not say bad things about casting lots if your intention is to receive guidance from Elohim. I'm going to say it exactly like that. That's the only way I want to say it. It passes muster. Okay? It passes muster to my inner child who went to Sunday school and youth group. Okay? And I don't want to elaborate, but suffice to say, I do not have a standard Protestant, fundagelical version of what God is or what God is about. But I've talked about Brahman, the idea of many in one, the idea that it's a plural word makes me happy. So I'm comfortable saying I will cast these lots in hope of receiving through some sort of neurologically mediated channeling or otherwise mediated channeling invisible friends or dark matter entities which must at least profess a non-hostility to the name, the word, the concept Elohim. Passes muster, Bible enough. Okay? Are we clear on that? I hope so. Because my grandmothers are listening and they're breathing down my neck at all times. Okay, so that's it. So you get 21, it should be 23 of these, I think, and they have Roman numerals on them and then the back there's usually a Sharpie and I'll write in the regular Arabic numerals the number. This particular one you can't read it anymore, but they're imperfect. It's a fun little thing, but they're these weird little handmade clay things. Kind of reminds you of cuneiform and these artifacts they find in the ancient Roman Empire digs and such. So it's neat. It's handmade. But these are intended to be, in a way, a signifier of the Tarot Major Arcana because they're numbered from Roman numeral 1 up to 21 and a little beyond that. And they're different colors. These ones are painted blue. I think I started with a blue clay, but it got burnt. So I just painted it blue with acrylic paint. And then I had a bag or two of these fake plastic gem things from Michael's, the hobby store. This particular one, and these are divided. I spent several hours one day trying to figure out how to make these into sets that were somehow gameable and cohesive. This one's it got teardrop shapes, and probably it's pinks and purples of teardrop shapes, and that became one of the sets. Because there were a similar number of these in each of the sets. Some of the sets, like this one, is all many colors, but they're all this kind of, I think they call it a bagel. If that were a real gem, it would be a bagel cut. It's kind of a rectangle with the corners cut off. So like an octagon, but not a regular octagon, but it's whatever, it's that shape. So this one has all different colors of only that shape. This one over here has got teardrops as well, but this is sort of the masculine, traditional symbology. I'm not saying it's accurate or true or real, but this one actually has red now, I find out. It's got blue, red, and green, which is kind of Christmas plus Hanukkah, you could say. That's in this particular set, but only the teardrop shapes. And I guess I had some intention that if different people had these sets that they could trade or that these have some meaning in some game or whatever. I have not figured that out yet, but my inner child likes these fake little cheap plastic gems from Michael's. I like the colors, they're fun. I could imagine they have different denomination values in some games or whatever. I haven't worked any of that out, but they're included in these sets. There's other variations of those, but there's a theme to what these fake gems are in each one, and, whatever. And then there's a set of these things with the Roman numerals on, and then there's the dice. And then there's going to be a set of my little cards with the major arcana. This one's the Tower, the Mountain. And remember, this is a test print that doesn't have an adequate margin, so the words get cut off a little bit. But, maybe it's a collector's edition because it's a limited run test print, right? Okay, so, and it's got these little sayings from the crystal store. When your head starts to worry and your mind just can't rest, put your thoughts down on paper and let God do the rest. I'd rather it said Elohim, but I'm not really subscribing to that, but it's okay. It's a nice little poem, and I'm going to leave it in there because it's part of the God box, okay? Fine. So, what else we got here? Well, let's talk about why are these bags? Well, because I only bought this many of the boxes. but I made more than that of styles or colors of those trolumpans, those little clay things with the Roman numerals. And I wanted to package the sets. Maybe I'll buy some more of these God boxes to make it more uniform. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. Or I could just sell them like this because it'll have some special different meaning. Because I've already done the work of making it, well, these ones are deficient in terms of the box, but they're going to have the metal dice. And this one's particularly fancy because it's got two-tone colors. Look at that thing. Isn't that great? Okay. Now this one here, it's a little bit of a straggler. So first of all, the trolumpans are a nice sunny yellow, so that's fun. This one's the 7. It says on the back, it's a little hard to read, but it's a VII on there. So very wonderful handcrafted, as if primitive, right? Primitive, referring to myself. Okay. Now, oh, right, so the dice. I ran out of dice, but I do have a 20-sided left. This one happens to be a translucent blue, which I'm loath to give up. I may end up keeping this set because I like this one so much. I've got two of those 10-sided ones. One of the one that's the Decades one, or the big one, is a translucent yellow. And then there's this, I bought one of the sets of dice I bought was these. It was just 10 of these, there it goes. 10 of these babies, and so those, they don't match, but they're a functional pair. They add to 100, or they can roll up to 100. What bothers me a lot is that I'm out of the dodecahedrons. Now, I happen to have, it wouldn't fit in here, I don't think. It might. And it doesn't have numbers on it. But one day I was up in Topanga, West LA, up in the woods, the hills kind of, and I bought this thing for probably an unreasonable chunk of change. It's a giant dodecahedron with some sort of mineral inside, some sort of magical thing for channeling whatever. There's like a metal thing on the bottom that's embedded in this resin. That's then, I don't know if they made a ball and then sliced the resin to be a dodecahedron or how they do this, but it was neat and I bought it. Now, I could etch like these ones have. You know, this is of course made by a machine. I could use a screwdriver or a chisel or something, although I lost all my chisels. And I could put numbers on all these facets, and I could maybe, we can check right now, but I could see, will it fit? If I were to empty out this box, there goes a trolumpan flying across the floor. Would this fit in here and fit it close? Yes, it would. Now, but I wouldn't be able to fit, and what am I doing with real live euros in here, by the way? There's 2 euros in there. That was an oversight. Let's put that over here. Okay, let me go get that thing that I dropped. Alright, so, you know what? I'm too heavily dressed. I gotta get rid of a layer here. I'm feeling quite hot. And not in a hot way. You know what I mean? Put this here. Put this over here. Take off this fuzzle, I call it. It's like a fleece flannel from Costco. Wonderful garment, but I've been blasting the heater today because I felt like it. Well, but the landlady likes to run it a lot. And she's coming in a day or two, so I thought I had leeway, and I ran it more than I normally would. So shame on me, I'm wrecking the earth. Okay. All right. So I could make this the dodecahedron of the one specialist God box, or I could really double down on this one. I don't think it fits in this one, but I could be wrong. So let's not get these mixed up together, but let's dump this one out as well for a moment. Oh shit. Alright, get this out of here. That's why I don't like disrupting things once they're in place. There's always some extraneous problem that happens. So let's see if this thing goes in here. It does, and it closes. Now you would not fit much else in there, frankly. That pretty much fills the whole bowl. That's kind of a neat though. Maybe I just do this as a thing. But you can't fit cards in here. You really can't fit any of the other dice. It would just be a dodecahedron inside of this magical olive wood bowl. I don't hate it. but I don't think that's going to ultimately work for me. Okay, well, all right. So let's go ahead and put it back the way we had it, and just acknowledge that there's never a complete end of a cycle like this. There's always mismatched something. There's always some lingering thing everything doesn't line up. Everything doesn't get uniformly squared away. And how do I put this? That's never my intention, but I find it healthy, because any system that is too complete to itself or something, I'm not saying this as elegantly as I want to, but is, I think, satisfying to a certain part of our minds, but is suffocating, is in some way curtailing growth, curtailing the randomness of the next iteration of something else. So this, I think Leonardo da Vinci might have struggled with things like this, because he never finished things famously. I mean, not that he never finished anything, but he had struggled with finishing things. And yes, I just compared myself. So that's pretty damn hubristic, and now I'm going to have to punish myself viciously for several weeks. But, you can have some characteristics of somebody, such as can't finish things, without necessarily having the genius part. I'm just saying, it's not necessarily a guaranteed package deal, right? It's a wonderful excuse for someone who just can't get his shit together, but anyways, I'm putting all these back the way they were. I like these ones because they're nice light blue and they're a little bit silvery, kind of sparkly. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that one. That's a XVII, so that's what, 17? I think that's a sun or moon or stars or somewhere up in there. And by the way, it has occurred to me every now and then, even though I've been kind of hard on the Tarot because it's so reinforcing of hierarchical civilization tropes, themes, emperors, priestesses, like all this heavy stuff from, they want you to feel that it's thousands and thousands of years old of archetypes, and it's really, really this heavy stuff. But there's an element of that is the culture of domination reinforcing itself. Like the Tarot there's nothing in there that's in any way intrinsically critical of a culture of domination, other than perhaps there's the element of randomness where you shuffle the cards, and so that's contra order, I suppose. But it's visually, thematically, it's it's lovely to play with these ideas and these archetypes, but it's almost like a heavier version of the Jack, Queen, King that we're used to from regular cards, right? It's that and like many more layers on top of it. Of course, they don't stop at King, they go to Emperor, they got the High Priestess, the regular cards don't have any sort of clergy in it, but, it's like those Disney films, right? Wonderful stuff, but it is reinforcing these myths of structure, of hierarchy, that's like you can't get out of hierarchy because it's everywhere. It's in the games we play, it's in the stories we read and we watch on TV and in movies. It's in our architecture, it's in our language, it's everywhere. That's the Matrix to me, and I love that movie, by the way. But if you get out of it, you're just in another Matrix, by the way. So that's the bad news. But I struggle against it because, well, I'm a spiritual Democrat, I suppose you could say. Or even Republican, Republican form of government, right? So I'm a spiritual egalitarian. I like Elohim because it's a plural word. So I'm not fond of particularly the word Lord. It makes me want to retch. I don't like the concept that someone's a Lord and you're going to, bow it, bend the knee and all that bullshit. Don't care for any of that. So, if I'm going to hell, I'm going on principle. So, now that we've covered that little piece of information, let's go back to the fun and games. And yes, I worry a little. Part of me worries. There's parts of me have matured beyond it. I'm like, it's ridiculous ghost stories to make children obedient, which is not false, but anyway, I lost one of my dice. Fucking A. What did I lose? The dodecahedron? Somehow I lost the dodecahedron from this set. Damn it, now I got two down. That's bad. Did it fall on the floor? Did it roll away under some counter? Some crack in the wall? Like a mouse hole in Tom and Jerry? I don't know. But I don't see 5, I see only 4. Dang it. Oh, this is the set that didn't have the dodecahedron. Okay, so that's why I got out the other thing. But what did I have for a substitute? I had this guy. Because it's half a dodecahedron, right? That's 12, this is 6. I was loath to include it, but I gotta do something, so it's like, well, that's it. But now I'm down to 4. Where's my yellow one? The yellow one that's the tens place. Remember that? We covered that information. Now I don't know where it is, and I'm at a dead stop. Yeah. So this is my process. It's never the same twice. It's like an epi process. I don't go to meta because there's no headroom left. There's no word. Once you go to meta, you're at the top. I don't want to be at the top. Epi's good enough. It's like a one level of abstraction and doesn't try to go all the way up. So, where the hell is my yellow douse? Because if mouse is the singular of mice, douse is the singular of dice. I know it's technically a die, but that's a very difficult word to use in a sentence. Believe you me, I've tried. Alright, well, we'll load the rest of these trinkets back in here. Oh, this one has a bonus of a rock, which implies that probably every one of these has a rock, like an actual rock, just because I'm like, you know what, it's lot casting, you better have a rock. So there's a rock. Alright, not Iraq, but a rock. A singular stone. Alright, I know, the more I play with these, the more the silver backing gets scratched off. I know, but whatever, it's war wounds, it's wonderful stuff. Here, put it here. These are hard to pick up, by the way, if you have nut fingernails. Alright, unless you slide it off the edge of the table, you know how that goes. Here's this, here's that. There's that one. Oh, this one's got a marble as well. Now that's a special prize right there. It's not in the bill of materials, bill of lading, whatever. It's not there. Oh, here it is. It was hiding among the Trolumpans. I had a feeling it was something like that. Oh, the fun we have. Am I hamming it up to be specially, more crazy than usual because it's a show? Probably so. I am not satisfied with that 6. I'm not satisfied with this. It's not the proper one. It doesn't fit the set. What am I to do? What am I to do? I could add a second 6-sided. I could do that. Yes, I could probably get comfortable with that. I could indeed, in fact, take away one of the 10-sideds to be fair to all the other sets, you see. Well, because they only have 5 dice. Why should this one have 6 dice? Because the 20-sided can be used as a 10-sided. In fact, sometimes they were made that way, where they just would repeat the single digit on, and it's the same odds of getting that number, but it rolls better. It's more like a sphere, so it rolls better. I just happen to roll a 13, so good for me. So, you know what? Should I do that? Should I take away this 10-sided and say, listen, you're going to have to use this for your 10-sided. Okay? And you're just going to have to deal with it. If you roll a 16 and a 5, is that 165? Or is it just a 65? Well, that's up to you, I suppose. But it's not standard, and I don't like that it's not standard. That's my left brain that hates that disorderliness. So, that's Dave. Dave is like that. Try as he does to evolve himself. That's the Daveness tendency. So whether it's technically the Dave energy or not, nobody knows, but Oh, here's a ripped card from long ago. It's a relic that goes in here. Here's an eyeball that's plastic from Halloween. Okay, I can't seem to get rid of it. I really want to get rid of it, but it always comes back. Here's a Trolumpin that lost its group. It's a 14, which is not the devil. I forget what 14 is. It's devil adjacent in any event is what I tried to say. So here's what we got. I have somewhere among all this, there's also those 10 that I talked about. These are the blue and green 10-sideds with yellow writing. They came in a set of 10. And I was thinking of having some special sets where it was 5 and 5 because I'm not for the number 5. And then you could use those to roll out a let's say a year that is a 5-digit year, which is one of my things. And it can be before the Common Era or after the Common Era, or before any other benchmark you care to set, or after. But I ended up saying, like, well, you know what, that's unwieldy, and plus we have no details about what was going on in 17,000 BC as compared to 23,000 BC. Nobody knows, really. It's the same thing. So, what do I do? What do I do? I've got all these nice sets that are nicely uniform from a product fairness point of view. Okay, they're interchangeable from an economic point of view, and I haven't worked out the full usage of it, but we'll get to that. We've made big progress on that. We're just going through what's the contents of these sets of stuff that I've been lugging around. Here's how I've decided to make sets of it, and now the goal is to make it something that I could write guidelines for how do you use it? Why do you need these things? You don't really need them, frankly. But I got, either keep them all and I make a game of it where you need all these different colored sets, which you could make an argument for that, but it's a treasure box. I need to fill it with treasure. These are the treasures that I have. If I take these treasures out, then what treasures will I have to put in? None. I could stack more cards in there, I suppose. Can I get 2 of these in there? Yeah, sort of, but yeah, you could. You could get 2 of these in, but then you couldn't fit. Maybe that's better, actually. But then why do you have all the rest of the stuff? And what are you going to do with it? I don't know. All right, well, I think I'm going to use a half deck because it fits nicely, and you can buy your pip cards separately. Because I can't fit all of this and 2 decks. If I take out a bunch of this volume, I could fit 2 of these, one for the pip cards, one for the high level ones. But I just want to put the ones that are the juicier ones and leave out the other ones, because no one needs to play poker with these things, right? If you want to play my special things, you can order the other one, or maybe I just ship it separately. So I think I'm inclined to, I've been carrying this shit around for a long time. I've been tinkering with these things forever. And I'm like, what am I doing with it? I divided these gems into sets one day. That took me several hours. And now it's all boiled down to this. I don't want to go backwards. Imperfection is the design principle of everything I do. So I don't want to go backwards. I want to order cards that I can put in these sets, and I'm going to sell these damn things on Etsy or Kickstarter or something. Okay. And I don't want to part with them, because then I'm breaking up the set. It's like, well, these ones are variations like the other one, and I like to have them. I like to be like, like Risk or like the game Catan, which I like a lot. There's these sets of things that have, the set has a uniform color. That's how you know what team it is. And I want to imagine playing a game with people where the people at the table, everyone at the table has one of these boxes. And, well, you've got to... maybe I'll do 4s. Well, I got 9, right? So, but this isn't uniform. We already said this. It's a problem. All right, so here's what it is. There's the 20-sided. Okay, we've got the 8-sided. We have 2 10s. Or if I'm going to put 2 of these old cube dealios, which I'd have to decide, do I want the more pale ones? What color mix do I want to put in? Well, these, it's better if they match-ish, but this one doesn't match for sure. Aesthetically, it looks like a total misfit. This is arguably doesn't match that well either, but at least they're a blue-green dominant theme. So how about we say, take this out, okay, put this in, pretty close color palette, although it's golden writing, and put two 6-sided because that's a proxy for a 12-sided, although you cannot possibly roll a 1, and the odds are different. So on a 12-sided, you have exactly equal odds, you know, theoretically, to any number 1 to 12, whereas rolling two 6-sided is much more, like in Catan or craps, you know, the 7 is the most statistically likely outcome from this. Whereas these ones is like an egalitarian version of that, where it can be 3 just as easily as 11 or 7 or any other number. So I don't like doing this substitution. It feels wrong to me. And you cannot buy a single dodecahedron die. They don't sell it. They sell it in sets. So if I do that and I take that one out, then I'm going to have extras of the other ones, and it's a never-ending. It's like the hot dogs and the buns, right? And I don't want to. These are expensive. These are $12 a pop for a set of these things. Now there's all these 3D printers. There's probably cheap ones, whatever. But like, I think I'm opposed to the 2-6. I think I need a dodecahedron. I think I need a dodecahedron. That's how it is. So I think that maybe what I have to do is use the big one, but then I can't fit the rest of the stuff. And what do I do about would a Sharpie hold? I think it would rub off, but maybe it would hold. So am I willing to do that to this beautiful thing, to actually put numbers on it? Let's go do it. All right. And should I go ahead and do my Trojan numerals instead of the Roman typicals? Okay, the only thing I do different is 4 and 9. Because the whole goofy thing where it's a subtraction instead of, I'm like, that's confusing enough. Why don't we just make a square? And that means 4. And for just to get it adopted, I don't reject that part. So just writing Arabic number 4 in the middle of the square to make it clear that it's 4. So you have a 5, a V for 5, and then the box with a 4 in it. That means 9 instead of IX. That's why it's a Trojan numeral and not a Roman numeral. It's just I get these little obsessive things, and I want to keep them somehow as part of my entourage of, you know, outputs, I guess you'd call it. You know what, I should probably take a quick look and see if my phone's out of juice or something. Yeah, low power mode. All right, well, it's still chugging along though. 1 viewer, how about that? Hello. I don't know if they just come and go, and they don't, it remains at number 1 on there. So I don't know if they're still there or not, but if anyone's listening, thank you for being here. I'm a little bit surprised, but thank you. So let's do it. You gotta have a dodecahedron, man. And it's like, if you're lucky, you're gonna get the one with the big ass crystal thing. So, all right, so what's the bottom? Is that the 12 or the 1? It's not the 9, it's the 12 or the 1. Or we could be cheeky and make it 0 to 11. Don't do that, because none of these has 0 to 11. All of them has 1 to 12. So let's model it on this one, okay? Same pattern. But is this the bottom or the top? Well, it's definitely the bottom. So let's let it be cohesive. And let's write a 1 on the bottom. 1. Okay? Should I make it a Roman 1? Nah, I don't want to do that. So the top is going to be 12. Doing this with a Sharpie. Okay, this pattern here, I'm just going to do it the same way. This one over here is an 8. Okay. Okay, this one here is a 7. Okay, then it's a 9. Okay, then it's an 11. That's why I couldn't do Roman numerals, because the 1 looks like an 11. Yeah, it's one of several reasons. And then a 3. Okay. Okay, now flip it, and lucky me, the 1 is on the opposite side. And, oh, so then let's do this. Let's go, how does it go? From 1, okay, 12, 11, and then 5 on this side. Oops. Sharpie's running out of juice, which is bad timing right now. Yeah, I think it's actually just died. Damn it. I should have more Sharpies. I used to, then they always disappear. Alright, I'm super upset right now. Yeah, I have a green Sharpie. Oh dear Lord. Alright, let's see if that works. Oh, here's a Sharpie. That's lucky. Alright, so what we're just doing, we're doing a 5. Here we go. Oh, it's a silver Sharpie. And that's not going to be very helpful right now. Look at that. It's a silver tip Sharpie with a black cap, so that's a curveball. Let's try the green one again. Okay, 5, where are you at? There it is. Is this going to work? Oh, it's a total mess. Alright, so the 1 is here, the 5 is here. Now we can do, here's the 10, right next to the 5, surprisingly. I don't know, it just seems surprising. A 2. A 4. A 6. I have to underline it, of course. Alright, so that's not perfect, but the bottom is green now. Alright. I'm encasing that 1 in a layer of green, because now I have a theme that the bottom half is green, the top half is black. I could get a new Sharpie tomorrow and fix it, or I could say, well, that's differently magical now, and just let it ride. Alright, so there's my dodecahedron. This one came out of here. Thank you for your service. Now, it's going to be, and by the way, this has a lot of David Bowie energy in it. There's a story. So here's this one, this 20. There's the 12. I think what we're going to do is 2. We could go back to that because it's, oh, now this one has a friend that's yellow. Got it. Now it makes sense. And the 4. So that's your set of 5 dice, okay? This thing, you better find a good spot to roll it, or it's gonna break something. What about this trolump in here? I don't know, just keep it in your lucky set over here. Alright. Okay, so we're gonna put these back here. This is a special set for who knows what, but it's got 3 sort of crystalline rocks, okay? 3 colored, but less, they're more rocks than crystals, although technically it is a crystal. It's a solid form of a mineral, and that's a crystal. And there's this yellow frog, which is very like Sheldon, and that's the whole story. And there's a piece of fern in there, which is not real, it's from Michael's, it never turns brown. There's 4 of these, 4 6-sided dice. If I had 2 more, I could make I glue them together and I make these structures, because it's more fun than a regular 6-sided die. And also these 3 10-sided were in there, so they're all going back where they were. Now I got to decide, what of this can still fit in here? Oh man, does it have to have this? Can this even fit? No, I tried it, this doesn't close. This is a smaller box that actually says the final word, which is funny. But, was this for ice as well? No, or it says Dave on the bottom, how interesting. That's interesting. Somebody gave this to me specifically. I don't remember the occasion and I feel guilty about that. It's a little bit wobbly, by the way. The screws and the hinge are not loose, it's just the hinge itself is a little dodgy, evidently. Alright, so let's put this out. Oh no, I just insulted it. Okay, so here's this. Okay. What fits, what doesn't? Well, maybe we don't get the Trolumpans because those are more space consuming. Did they still get the special marble even though they got this big dodecahedron? I don't know, I don't think so. How about these ones? But then there'll be nothing in this box. Oh. Put these small trinkets here. Okay. You gonna take this set out of here? Are you serious right now? But you're gonna put the gems. Well, you're never gonna fit all of these Trolumpans with that giant dodecahedron. So it's trade-offs, right? The art of the fair trade-off, and it's ridiculously, obsessively, compulsively, magical thinking of the Wazizzle. Cause, you know, that's how I process my workings, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, there's many ways to say things. You know, there's these little weird divot things. I don't even know what they're about, but they're like clear little divot. I call it a divot. Oh, those are like the magical Thummim and Brahman or whatever. Those Mormons are into it, and the Jewish priests have these stones. There's a black stone and a white stone. This represents that, even though these are like beads that are plastic and clear, but they're going in here. Somebody has to offset this overbearing piece of machinery here. Put these things in here. There's the jewels. Okay. We better put the rock in. Keep that there. Definitely these dice remain in the set. And not a